everyone else to plan our lives of travel to Los Angeles to see the San Diego Chargers, as well as Nashville. We'll be doing some bus trips down to Charlotte, a flight to Atlanta, as well as barbecue in Kansas City. Our Ray Lewis trip to Canton is on sale, and we'll have preseason football. But this guy goes deep under the hood of the car in the National Football League as the shutdown corner out of the fighting city of Denver, Colorado, where I hope to see some rock and roll before the season is over and avoid the Broncos this year. He is Yahoo Schwab out on Twitter as well as at Yahoo Sports. We welcome Frank Schwab, one of our defending champions, back here on the eve of the draft to tell us how somehow, some way, the Baltimore Ravens are going to get some impact players here. Schwab, what's going on, man? Welcome in. It's draft season. We got cherry blossoms and all that stuff, and we have the Ravens in search of a wide receiver for, I don't know, the 23rd consecutive year, right?
Hopefully, whatever they do this year works out better than Brashad Perryman. That's all you can hope for.
And Travis Taylor, and we can go into the wave.
On and on and on. It's amazing. Like I hate to say that it's so negative for a team that was good. I mean, they were competitive, obviously, until Andy Dalton at the end, but that was the most unwatchable team in the NFL. I enjoyed watching the Browns more than I enjoyed watching the Ravens. Like they were a really, really tough team to watch. I mean, again, a good team. Like the Ravens were not a bad team by any means, but boy, that offense was just so difficult. I mean, it just there was no aesthetically pleasing thing about the Baltimore Ravens last year. But again, a good team who is clearly, pretty close if they can find some impact players, like you said.
You feel that way, pretty close. The Ravens, I mean, I'm going to quote you on that out on the internet, Schwab, on that. I don't know. I mean, are they? I mean, were the Eagles pretty close this time last year, or the Rams? And obviously, those are the teams that have been the sexiest teams making big moves. And, I mean, the Eagles, it was so easy for them, they did it with their backup quarterback, right? Like, some really weird stuff happened in the league, and we see all these quarterbacks and the dancing chairs. And meanwhile, the Flacco sit in the corner maligned even after having won, right? And I don't know what people expect, but from Osemele to Wagner to now Ryan Jensen losing offensive linemen, not really having the running back after Ray Rice sucker punched his wife in an elevator, and not really having the wide receiver after Anquan Bolton was shown the side door to San Francisco and Torrey Smith ran off and made all the money. It does take other players. There are other things that have to go right, notwithstanding Marshall Yanda, in week 2 or 3 last year going down for the year. So lots of things have gone wrong around here, and yet Flacco stands there as the guy making all the money with the spotlight on him. But I don't know that he stinks the way people are piling on, like he needs to be shown the side door and that they need to move on from his era. I'm not ready to say that about Joe.
No, not necessarily. I think that it's just a contract. It trips everybody up. You can't start a Joe Flacco conversation without talking about how much money he makes. And in today's NFL, he honestly doesn't make that much. I know that sounds crazy, but you look at what some of these guys are making at that position. It's just a different economy.
Dude, what has Kirk Cousins ever won? I mean, seriously.
Right. Well, I mean,
what has Matt Stafford ever done? Right? Like literally,
yes.
Right?
I mean. And I'd take both of those quarterbacks over Joe right now. But if you look at it, this is a league where Ryan Tannehill makes more than any other non-quarterback in the NFL. Like, I mean, that's just this is the league. So if we could get past just Joe's contract, okay, let's stop. I mean, if we can somehow analyze Joe Flacco without discussing his contract first. I don't think Joe Flacco is the biggest problem with the Ravens. I think he's fine. I think he's not great. I mean, he's had great stretches. He's capable of that for sure. But I don't think Joe Flacco's holding back the Ravens. And that's, if you want to talk about, okay, let Flacco go, move on from him. Okay, well, which quarterback ahead of him in the pecking order are you going to acquire this offseason? I mean, really, people talk about this stuff like, hey, we got to improve from quarterback X. Well, that's fine. Tell me which quarterback better than him you are going to acquire, because these guys don't come available very often. And when they do, they get $28 million a year from the Minnesota Vikings.
I have a feeling if Joe Flacco would have stepped in last year in Philadelphia, he would have been okay. He would have done a nice job there. He would have done a nice job with that team and that offense and that defense and what they had to provide. And I think the Ravens have built a lot of things around him, or tried to, defensively and in the draft and with the kicking game and all that. But I mean, if you really do want him to be successful, you got to do better than Brashad Perryman, or at this point, a Kenneth Dixon type. And maybe with Collins, maybe they have their answer. I know he dances a hell of an Irish jig. I've seen that here in the offseason. But I do think that there's more that goes into this, especially with some sort of solidification of an offensive line that could protect him.
Right, and you talked about it up at the top. They've let a lot of offensive linemen go. I mean, just price them out. I mean, hey, what are you going to do when the Raiders pay Saleme, or however you pronounce it? I can spell it but not pronounce it. When they pay him the highest contract at that point a guard would ever make, well, okay, well, that's what happens. But the defense, I think, is fine. That's why I say I don't think the Ravens are far off, because the defense is good. They should have won 10 games last year and made the playoffs. They just one play. I mean, one really, really bad play at the end. But the defense, I think, is there. The specialties are great. I think Tucker's as good as I've ever seen, obviously. And it's just, can you get enough punch on offense to take you from we're a wild card contender to all of a sudden we're a division contender again? And I think they've done some good things this offseason. I think the draft could help them. I don't think when you can win 9 games in the NFL, you're not far off. You're just, it's like you said, the Eagles took that big jump. A couple other teams took a jump. We see it every year. And the Ravens have this foundation where every single year, no matter what they look like on paper, they're competitive. We'll see. I mean, maybe Crabtree, John Brown, they do help. I mean, at some point, though, Ozzie needs a good draft. I mean, I know this is the last one. He needs to hit some home runs here and get them some immediate help for that, especially for the offense.
Well, which moves us on to the draft. All of our WNST coverage this week brought to you by our friends at the Baltimore Brigade and Monumental Sports. Brigade taking on the Valor. Indoor football begins this Friday at the Royal Farms Arena. We hope to see you down there on Friday night. I'll be stopping by and appearing as well in between Caps games, in between racing and the Maryland Jockey Club. The entries now out on the front page of our website at WNST.net. We got Derby preps. My wife and I are heading down to Laurel for the races. And, of course, the race entries now in our morning newspaper, shipped digitally to your email inbox each and every morning. It's all brought to you by our friends at Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Reminder to get the ROFO app. Make sure you're using that. That's the little card there. Get your fried chicken for free. Get your Western fries for free. Use that when you're gassing up at the ROFO near you. Royal Farms, real fresh, real fast, and the Kona blend in the cup. Frank Schwab is our guest from Yahoo Sports. He is the shutdown corner. 'Tis the season to get ready for the draft and the schedule and all the other stuff that's happening around here. We got our Ray Lewis trip at the Canton and an exciting football summer, but there's nothing exciting about taking a tackle from Notre Dame in the first round, is there, Frank? Except when you have to go out and play, right? And everybody around here as well, tight ends, and let's get a wide receiver, and where's Calvin Ridley, and do the Cowboys want to trade up to get him, and will Ozzie deal back? I get the feeling Ozzie's going to wind up with that sexy center or, the tackle from Notre Dame or whatever. That's just the way this thing feels to be trending to me, because that's the way the board feels like it's going to go. And I know for guys like you in the industry of handicapping all this, it's all about these quarterbacks at the top, right?
Yeah, that's where it started. I mean, that's why this draft is interesting, and it does help the Ravens in some way. When you have, four guys are going to go right away at quarterback. It could seriously be 1, 2, 3, 4 if the fourth pick is traded. And that bumps good players down in the draft. And he talked about McGlinchey there, the tackle from Notre Dame. And who knows, he might jump up in the draft, because the one thing, and you're not going to sell a lot of jerseys on draft day by drafting an offensive lineman, but there's so few of them to go around anymore. I mean, we've talked about how this is a major problem in the NFL, that these offensive linemen in college really, they're playing the spread. They're not ready to play right away. So when you get a really good lineman, you take them, and you're pretty happy with that. And if that ends up happening for the Ravens, it would be a good football move. And no, I mean, it's not going to set the fan base on fire necessarily, but it might be a really good situation for the football team and help the offense, in ways that, who knows, one of these rookie receivers, DJ Moore, might not be able to do right away. If you can get a guy come in and play right away at offensive line, definitely helps the offense.
You know, for me, I'm not into Access Hollywood or the drama behind anything, but the draft is the one thing that I really do after 27 years of doing sports radio here for a living every day and taking phone calls and knowing people inside, outside the industry. This is still, for me, every year I get interested in this, but not like some of you, right? Like I've been to the Senior Bowl. I used to get the books 20 years ago ahead of time and sit with Marvin Lewis and draw up plays. If they got Peter Bowerin, they could just put him into the defense and all that. But this is the time, like right 2-3 weeks before, when it gets down and dirty, when the boards start to get a little bit more flushed out, where you can look at the Ravens and say, there's probably 3 to 5 names you'd look at unless they dealt back or really wanted to deal up, or the right miracle of a Terrell Suggs fell into their lap, which in some years you don't even wind up talking about these guys, and weird drops happen for the Miles Jacks of the world or whatever. But in the case of the draft this year, the more my interest has grown over the years, the more that there's drama to talk about, and teams leaking rumors and agents leaking rumors. That these 2 weeks, you hear all of this conjecture, and all of it, we all do run to it to some degree, right? It's not wake me up when the draft starts. I like the background, the how the sausage is made over the next 2 weeks.
Oh, everybody does. It's an industry in itself. I know buddies of mine and aren't in the business. They like the draft as much as they do games on Sunday. It's almost like recruiting with college football, where there's people out there who like college football recruiting more than they like college football. I don't get it, but hey,
well,
whatever.
You know what? It's a Rubik's Cube because it's so endless, the possibilities of what if Roquan falls down the board and is there when they're but things you might not even talk about, but in all 32 of these war rooms, they're talking about everything. Like, what if we dealt up and gave a draft away for a quarterback? What if? And I think that lends itself to such great conversation.
And it's also the perfect amount of time, really. Like, the NFL could do the draft yesterday. They'd have been fine, but they drag it out for this extra month, where we're not talking about, Bryce Harper's great start. We're not talking about the NBA playoffs about ready to start. We're not talking about the Capitals.
Well, I'll be talking about the Capitals. Stop right there, Frank. I'll be talking about the Capitals.
I mean, trust me, I live here in Denver, and it's literally what are the Broncos going to do with the 5th pick? Day in, day out. That nobody cares about anything else. The NFL's done a marvelous job kind of taking over the whole sports industry. Everybody wants to talk about, we'll talk about Patrick Reed for about 14 hours, and then we're going to go back to talking about who the Browns are going to take at number 1. I mean, they've turned this into the ultimate reality show. It's great drama. It's great theater. There's a reason that the NFL draft this year is going to be on like 17 different channels at once. I mean, it's a great show. It's fun. The NFL's still king, and the draft it's new beginnings for everybody. It's something different. We can instantly say, oh my God, Ozzie screwed up. Oh my God, Ozzie's a genius. We don't know. We have no idea. We're not going to know for 4 or 5 years, but it's just fun. It's great theater, and I get it. I understand why this has become the marquee event of basically the spring. I mean, and almost in sports. I mean, is the draft bigger than the Masters? I don't know. It's probably pretty close.
Well, as a all weekend event deep in the heart of Dallas, where we're going in a couple of weeks, I'm sure they'll sell some tickets down there in Jerry's World. He is Yahoo Schwab out on Twitter. He is writing about the NFL for Yahoo and Yahoo Sports. The blog is Shutdown Corner, and you can find him out on Twitter at Yahoo Schwab. Frank Schwab is our guest. It's all brought to you by our friends at Howard Bank, a relentless commitment to being the best at everything they do. They are sponsoring our charity and community series each and every Thursday morning, spotlighting charities. Spotlighted the Brigance Brigade last week, the Casey Cares Foundation. We're going to be doing some muscular dystrophy with our pal Bill Bolander this week. So if you want to get your charity involved in that, throw me an email, nasty@WNST.net. It is all presented by Howard Bank, as well as our friends at Cole Roofing. We all felt that March wind blowing in. If you have a commercial roof space, keep it dry, keep it safe, keep it right. Don't let it goof on your roof. Let Cole Roofing up there to give it a look-see to make sure you're in good shape for the hot summer months. He's out in Denver, Colorado, and getting asked a question. I'm going to be the latest journalist, Frank Schwab, to ask you the question. Frank, who are the Broncos taking at 5?
That's a great question. I wish I had that answer. I'd be a legend out here because everybody wants to know. Everybody. I mean, this is the question, and I think Josh Allen falls to 5, and I think they draft him. I think that's how it's going to turn out. I think once the Browns, I think, stay safe and they go with Sam Darnold, I think number 2 is going to be Josh Rosen. I do think it's still the Giants draft a quarterback. You're not going to be drafting second overall very often. This opportunity doesn't come along every day. Then at number 3, I think Baker Mayfield goes to the Jets. And then I think that the Browns are going to resist the urge to trade back. And I think they're going to take, I don't know if it's Barkley. I don't know exactly who they got in mind, if it's Barkley, if it's Chubb, if it's Nelson. But they're going to get a big-time impact player at 4. And then if you're the Broncos, look, you didn't marry Case Keenum, you dated Case Keenum. 2 years is just a short term. That 2 years ain't your future. You could draft a guy like Josh Allen. He's a big kid. You know Elway likes that type. He drafted Brock Osweiler over Russell Wilson, for goodness sake. So I think that it's going to end up that they take their quarterback of the future at 5 as Josh Allen. And it could go many, many different ways. The Broncos are impatient. They're not a, hey, let's rebuild type of team, so they could just take the best player available at 5 or trade back. I don't know, though. I just kind of got a gut feeling that Josh Allen drops to him, and they just see the potential and say, hey, Case can hold this down for 2 years, and then we just flow smoothly into the Josh Allen era.
Where are you on Ridley as far as clearly Ravens needs and Crabtree and Brown and where they went and went away from the grandkid in the end, but for McGlinchey is mocked to them. I don't want to say universally, if not Ridley. No one's really all that high on Ridley. To me, Ozzie, and if I had $1 to put on it and you gave me the right odds, I would say he will deal backward and do something and pick up picks and get the center or pick up one of the tight ends. But if they draft there, I haven't seen a whole lot of variety, and Ridley becomes the wild card of a guy because there's a clear need for a playmaker for this offense and for Joe Flacco. But there's also the clear history, as you've brought up, of Rashad Perryman and Travis Taylor. We can go into the Wayback Machine for all sorts of mistakes of DeVar Darlings and Clarence Moores and through all of it. But also, the Brandon Stokeleys who went other places and extended their career. But they need someone to catch the ball this year. I don't know if Ridley's going to be that guy.
I don't know either. I think Ridley's a good number 2. I really do. I think he's at his top end in Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, not to just bring up Denver stuff again, but, that type where Emmanuel Sanders is never going to be the best receiver in the league or anything like that, but he's really, really good and he can add value. And I'm not saying they're the same type of player. I'm just saying, I never see Calvin Ridley as, wow, this guy's one of the top 15 receivers in the NFL. He's a true number 1. You got to do that. He's just not an Amari Cooper, Julio Jones type that's come out of Alabama. And I think he's just going to go high because he's the top receiver. And teams need receivers, and there's not really many ways to get them because they're very thin in free agency now. So I don't like. I think the Ravens. I look at the receivers and say, there's maybe 5 guys who are all about the same. You can make an argument for this guy or that guy or DJ Moore or Ridley or whoever. I'd move back if I was Ozzie, but the problem is going to be finding somebody who wants to move up. But let's say you're sitting there at, 25. Are you really that excited to move up to 16, or do you say, well, whoever we get at 25 is not going to be that much different than who we get there? So I think the problem the Ravens are going to have moving down is finding somebody to move up. I don't know who's going to be there who the Ravens wouldn't draft, who would be very exciting for any other team, who would be, we got to move a 3rd round pick to move up and get this guy.
Lamar Jackson, maybe? No?
Maybe. I mean, if you really love Lamar, I guess that's possible, but...
Well, the quarterbacks really dictate all of this.
But I think the Ravens are right behind the Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And I think if a quarterback falls who's that good, who you're really into, Cardinals are probably going to draft him 15, and then you lose your leverage a little bit.
Yeah, Frank Schwab joining us here from Yahoo Sports. You mentioned Mayfield going so high up, and I've seen him all over the place. I've seen Jackson all over the place. Every year when we get together at the Super Bowl, it's one story in the Senior Bowl, and it's who's going to play, and it's all that. Then we get together at the Combine, and we're going to measure squatting and jumping and Wonderlicks and whether they've been arrested and all that stuff, or whether they've done crazy stuff on the field as Mayfield has done with the cameras on. And then it always comes back with the quarterbacks, even when it's Johnny Manziel and every red scarlet flag you could possibly imagine out there. they fall in love with the quarterbacks, right? Because it's the difference between keeping your job or not, and you kind of have to go all in on your Kyle Bowler, whether it gets you fired or not, right?
Yeah, agreed. I mean, that's just, if you don't got a quarterback in the NFL, you're constantly chasing one. And I just, you do overlook some. Every guy in this draft class, you could talk yourself in and out of. You can say, well, there's a lot of questions about Josh Rosen, whether his teammates like him and this and that. There's a lot of questions about Sam Darnold's fumbles and Josh Allen's being very raw, and the stuff with Baker, too, that we all know. But to me, I think Baker's the best pure quarterback in this draft. He just doesn't have the measurables. He's just short. It's tough to take the third pick, second pick, first pick on a guy who's not even 6'1" at quarterback.
But when Russell Wilson and Drew Brees set the standard, I see Doug Flutie every year. That's not... It happens. It does happen.
Yeah. But those guys, I think you're looking at, I mean, that's like saying, like, well, we have the 199th pick of the draft. Tom Brady went there once. I mean, hey, we could get there. I mean, I think that Wilson
Touché.
and Brees are just special Hall of Fame. Like, these guys are outliers. I mean, there's more failures than successes when you're that short. But maybe Baker is one of those guys. He's that good. He was an excellent quarterback. Excellent. I mean, this isn't a system guy. This isn't the guy who just played with great talent around him, although he did. He's a great quarterback. He's fantastic. And I really like him as an NFL guy. It's just, you do have to say, look, the history of quarterbacks is short isn't great. You have to take that into account. But he's the guy out of this draft I really do see big things for, and he'd be really fun in New York. Where most guys when they go to the combine, right? Their agents tell them don't say anything. Just be boring for a week, especially with the media. We don't got to do anything. Baker Mayfield gets up there. The first question he's asked is about the Browns, and he says, if there's one guy who can turn that franchise around, it's me. Like, whoa, okay, Baker. Good to hear from you. I mean, I like him. I like his brashness. I can see why some teams would be totally turned off by it, but I like Baker. I think he's going to be fun for the NFL. I think he's going to be an impact guy right away.
Yeah, the Jets have, always had a long tradition of taking, guys like that, right? risk.
I mean, the Jets would be so fascinating with Baker Mayfield. That would just be a match made in heaven if you're.
Well, they took Rex on. They made Rex. He brought a winner to town for a little while. So I'll give them all the credit in the world. Even Vinny Testaverde managed to win in New York. He is Frank Schwab, Yahoo Schwab. The way to find him out on Twitter as well as at Yahoo Sports in the Shutdown Corner. Give me a player or two that you love in a draft, and I don't mean a top 5, top 10 guy. I mean everybody loves Quentin Nelson. Everybody loves Derwin James. But give me a couple of guys to keep an eye on that you've come across. And you think, I'm going to see that guy picked in the second, third round, and he's going to be a good football player.
Sure, I think it's a lot of the running backs, to be honest with you, guys like him, Rashard Penny coming out of San Diego State. I think you're going to see, and I don't think the Ravens have this need really specifically as far as like mid-round running backs. I do like Collins a lot, but I think you're going to see guys in the second, third, fourth round go at running back, and they're going to become really good starters in the NFL. I think that everybody's talking about Barkley, and he is a generational talent. But let's just talk about the Browns for a second, because they're sitting there at 4. If you're the Browns, you're sitting there at 4, and you're saying, yeah, we could draft Barkley, and he might be the next Marshall Faulk or Adrian Peterson, whoever you want to comp him to. But we could also wait and get Geis in the second round. Maybe. And if not Geis, you get Ronald Jones or somebody like that. I'm just, of all the positions, but it's just the running backs that stand out to me. I just think you're going to see running back after running back after running back go, again, third, fourth, maybe even fifth round, and you're going to see some of those guys turn into a Jordan Howard, who ends up a fifth-round pick, who ends up being a really good starter. It's really, really deep in this draft. And I think you're going to see a turnover of a lot of teams who have been looking for a running back. Your Lions, your Giants, your teams like that are going to finally find that guy in this draft.
It's crazy how allergic the league was to running backs for a decade, especially up high, and how many bust and how many turn knees and problems that set franchises back from the William Greens and different mistakes, right? But now that's changed, and I think the value of it that's there for your quarterback, for being a cold weather team, for being a team playing with a lead in the third and the fourth quarter, for being teams that invest a lot in offensive line. If you don't have a running game, boy, it stresses every part of your game.
It really does. And I mean, not just the running game, but a guy like a Barkley. I mean, he is a freak, but who can do it in the passing game too. He's going to catch 75 balls his first year, and he's going to have an impact that way. And let's say the Broncos get him, he's basically the third receiver from day one. I mean, that's how good he is in that aspect of the game. I think what teams are realizing that, when you draft somebody high up, you say, well, this guy's only got a short shelf life, but I think they're realizing I only have a short shelf life as a GM. I'm going to be out of here in 3-4 years. What do I care if whoever I pick here is going to play 10 years? I just want a guy who's going to give me 4 or maybe 5 really, really good years. That's worth it for me to take a second-round pick on a running back who I can kind of not to be, this is kind of harsh to say, but who I can use up. I could draft Carlos Hyde in the second round, get 4 good years out of him, and send him on his way.
Well, that story here would be Ray Rice. I mean, that is the story of Ray Rice, literally, for the franchise.
Exactly.
And they squeezed the juice out of that, and that they won a championship that way. And I don't know if you don't do it that way, that you're always chasing a Frank Gore, right? Or, chasing that veteran running back that's been bounced around a few times. You have to have that too, probably, through it all.
Yeah. I mean, have 3-4 guys. The Patriots, look what they've done. Sure. I mean, it seems like they just have a never-ending assembly line of running backs come out. Like, oh, okay, Deion Lewis left. Well, we got Rex Burkhead. We're fine. I mean, I think that there's value in running backs for sure. It's just different. You're not going to be paying unless it's a really, truly elite guy. We even see it with Le'Veon Bell, where the Steelers don't want to pay him. They don't want to get involved with a 5-year contract with him. There's value in these guys. It's just not that, hey, you're 27, you've had 4 or 5 really good years, we're going to give you this 5-year deal. I don't think that's happening anymore, but there's value in these guys. It's just, you understand going in, it's probably a 5-year relationship tops.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Justin Forsett flash here where he looked incredible, as a veteran guy with low mileage on him. And look what the Ravens did in the market, bringing the kid in from Arkansas via Seattle, where he couldn't get on the field out there for Pete Carroll.
Absolutely. If you can find running back. And look at Seattle. Seattle's got guys. This Chris Carson kid, when he gets healthy, he's going to be really good. And they got him in the 7th round. So there's ways to find running backs, and you just have to realize going in, this isn't going to be an 8-year, 9-year guy, because that doesn't happen much. But you get 3-4 good years out of him. If Alex Collins gives the Ravens 3 good years and you part ways with him at the end of that and find your next Alex Collins, that's fine. That's great. I mean, it's a little insensitive to be like, we're going to chew you up and spit you out and just find your replacement. But that's kind of how it is in the NFL for running backs right now, and that's how the teams are playing the game.
But they also didn't use a second-round draft pick on him, not yet anyway.
Right.
And because he's played well, that's one position we're not talking so much about, although it is of great depth. Frank Schwab can be followed at Yahoo Schwab out on Twitter, as well as at Yahoo Sports and the Shutdown Corner blog. Hey, man, happy off-season, happy in-season for the draft to you. It's always great to visit with you and talk some football. We'll send everybody out to watch your coverage, and we'll all be mocking our mock drafts 2 weeks from now, right?
Absolutely. I'll get about, 2 picks right out of 32, because that's how it goes, but it's always fun.
And then all the hope begins all over again in May when they start throwing the football around. Frank, appreciate the time, man. Be well.
Thanks, Nestor. Appreciate it, man.
You got it. Frank Schwab and Yahoo Sports and Yahoo Schwab, SCHWAB, out on Twitter. You can find me in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from wherever you happen to be. No static at all, like Steely Dan. And by the way, Steely Dan coming to the Modell Lyric this fall. Also, the Wild Kratts there. Now, that's a PBS kids series. And they have some extra seats there for Sunday for the 4:30. The 1 o'clock is sold out this week. Get your Wild Kratts tickets. Take your kids down to see that series and learn a little bit about zoology and the world. Educational stuff like Mr. Rogers, one of my heroes. The Modell Lyric this Sunday at 4:30. Also, Britt Floyd coming up on the 26th. Jackson Brown on May 3rd. Kansas, Steely Dan. We are partners with the Modell Lyric, and I like the first part of that. Although I like the second part, too. I went to the Lyric a bunch as a kid and saw the Nutcracker as a child. So we're very, very appreciative of our partnership with the Modell Lyric. We'll be telling you more and more about all of the things going on and giving some tickets away as well. I want to remind everybody the Baltimore Brigade playing on Friday night against the Washington Washington Valor than at the Royal Farms Arena. Tickets available at BaltimoreBrigade.com as well as through the MonumentalSports.com app, where you can watch the games, listen to the games, see the games, and interact as well. The Baltimore Brigade and indoor football back for the second season at Royal Farms Arena this week. Speaking of Royal Farms, real fresh, real fast, make sure you're downloading that app and using that when you're getting your gas. You'll get some free fried chicken, qualify for some free coffee in the morning as well, that Kona blend, and the best fried chicken in the land. But I love the Western fries, too. I got to get some Western fries this week for maybe my Stanley Cup pursuits for Capitals hockey. Royal Farms, real fresh, real fast. Download the app. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.